Hi, Mom. What's up, everybody? What's up, man? Welcome. How's everybody doing? Happy Wednesday, man. Happy Wednesday. We're almost at the end of the week. We're almost at the weekend, y'all. We almost there. But thank you guys for joining me for another episode of the Jayson Estrera Show, where we talk about basketball, sports, and any topic that comes our way as accurate as possible. Now, today, we have a little bit of a quick show today because we are going to be talking about the New York Knicks. Obviously, it's the offseason right now. Stories are far and few outside of fake news and ESPN talking about the first posts on Facebook by the athletes or whatever nonsense that they want to talk about at this time of the year. But we are going to be talking about the Knicks. There's an article that came out recently. But before we get into that topic, we have to talk about Adrian Wojnarowski retiring from I'm trying to find retiring from being a NBA insider. So let's read this together. So he retires from ESPN to become a basketball general manager at his alma mater, which is out of New York. So known for the Woj bomb and from his relentless NBA breaking news and reporting, he was their senior insider. Adrian Wojnarowski announced that he retired, right? He talks about his first time. And what he said here, I thought this was the important part. He said, I understand the commitment required in my role, and it's an investment that I'm no longer driven to make. Time isn't an endless supply, and I want to spend mine in ways that are more personally meaningful. I leave with overwhelming gratitude for countless mentors and colleagues, subjects and stories, readers and viewers. No one has benefited more than me from the belief, trust, and generosity of others. And so, big news, obviously. A lot of people are saying, oh, because of Shams, if you guys don't know, big reporter right now, Shams has been making waves in sports, right? And in basketball in particular as well. But I think that Woj is retiring for a totally different reason. Right? He isn't retiring to get away from basketball. Right? He's retiring to now be working in a day-to-day capacity with basketball. Not just covering it, with a team. He will advise the St. Bonaventure coaching staff on name, image, and likeness, NIL opportunities, managing the transfer portal, fundraising, and recruiting, among other things. Last season, the Bonnies finished with a 20-13 overall record, 9-9 in the Atlantic 10 Conference. And so, to me, it's the line where he said, I understand the commitment required in my role, and it's an investment that I am no longer driven to make. You gotta think, right? a lot of these guys start off covering sports and basketball because they have a love and a passion for it, whether they played it, watched it, found something in it that intrigued them. I think the thing that bothers a lot of athletes is when media personalities, now Woj is a little bit different. His commentary is very minimum, right, for the most part. But when analysts start talking as if they don't care about the sport, and for someone like Woj, who started his career probably loving this game, to become public enemy number one, essentially, to the athletes that you cover and that play the sport that you love growing up, I'm sure that weighed on him. And the very nature of what he does, it can't be pretty, right? His job is to pull information when he's not supposed to have it. It's not easy. And two, it requires you to get your hands dirty, right? And you know, he the second part of that, he said, time isn't isn't an endless supply, and I want to spend mine in ways that are more personally meaningful. Right? And I think all the knowledge and all the experiences, all the connections that he's gained through this one career that he's had, to his point, now he wants to use it and do something meaningful with it by growing his college, giving kids an opportunity in the game of basketball. And you know, obviously with we've seen it with some of these really powerful men in any industry, it seems like greed takes over and there's no such thing as too much. But seemingly for Woj, there was a fine line, and there was a line for him that was too much. And he doesn't want to be the bad guy in this story anymore. And, you know, I think it's one of those things, I'm sure at the end of the day, a lot of these players, they won't admit it, but they get it because these guys have a job to do and they have families to feed. But I think what he said in those few words to certain guys might mean a lot, right? And so, man, kudos to him on getting out of it. Instead of doing this media thing until they eventually fall off, or you get canceled, or somebody really doesn't like you, or whatever the case is, right? He ended it on his terms and now is pivoting into something else, right? So what shine and popularity and fame and following that he has still, he can now translate on over into his next career. So congratulations to Woj, man. Incredible career, broke a lot of stories over the years. But yeah, kudos to him, man. Kudos to him. Now, two more sombering news, right? Let's just check this out really quickly.
Ocho, man, AP, bro, you made 100 million, and then he borrowed. I think he borrowed like 5 million in like 2 years the interest. So when you borrow money like that, you got to pay like 20-25% interest on Joe. So it went from 5 million to like 8 million in 3 years. It might be 50% interest. Oh, Joe. But then you throw a birthday party and you fly everybody. I wish I might have a birthday party. And I fly y'all in to come to my party? Where they do that at? He got camels. He got tigers. Tarzan for real.
Man, you know how I am. The chat know, hell, the goddamn world know how I am when it comes to finances. And I don't play that. I don't play that. Listen, him being in this situation is very unfortunate. I wish him well and hoping everything turns out.
This is the wrong guy to be having this conversation with, in the sense of Ocho great with his money.
I'm not sure how this works.
And nigga better turn in his favor. He owed $12 million.
I mean,
and for the looks of it, he ain't got it.
Yeah. I hope so.
The way he said that.
I hope he has something. I hope he has some.
How you take out a loan to throw yourself a birthday party? You better go down there and get about 5 or 6 dozen crabs and some shrimp and say, here you go. Who takes out a loan to throw themselves a birthday party unless you're what? Trying to impress the party goers.
Yep.
I don't know.
And which, this leads me to the articles, just to give a little bit of context and backstory, I guess, to what's actually going on. Featuring a Houston judge ruling he must pay off roughly $12.5 million in debt. He's earned $100 million in his NFL career from 2007 to 2021. To turn over, he was ordered by a Houston judge to turn over numerous assets from his Missouri City, Texas home to help pay back his debt. What is it here? Originally took out a $5.2 million loan from a Pennsylvania lending company in 2016. A 9% interest per annum plus attorney fees led to an $8.3 million judgment against Peterson in 2021. The ballooning interest payments on top of lawyer fees led to an approximate collection total of $12.2 million, according to Burlett's February court filing. So, and to add insult to injury, he said, "I want to emphasize that I'm financially stable and would never sell off my hard-earned trophies," Peterson said in a since-deleted social media post in February 2024. And so that's tough. That's really tough. If there's any truth to that, and that he took out a loan for a super extravagant 30th birthday party in 2015. That's unacceptable. That's unacceptable. If you're at a point where, and this is for anyone, right? If you're at a point when you're planning a party where you get to, I gotta go take a loan out, you better not have that fucking party, dog. And I guess to even be in that spot to think about that, because you got to think about the lifestyle that they live, right? It's not normal. So the fact that you took a loan out, what didn't you pay for? See, all of it is tough, right? All of it is tough. But I want to take this away from Adrian Peterson, even I guess a little bit away from sports, right? To just something really important, right? Which is the importance of an inner circle. You know, there's been a lot of these kind of stories online, right? Oh, my friends took me to a steakhouse and all of a sudden everyone had to pay and split and everybody didn't get blah, blah, blah. Whatever the case may be, right? And I've always had the mindset, and you know, my circle of friends the same, where we wouldn't be going there without an understanding. Because as someone in your circle, I'm not going to just pretend like everyone in here has unlimited money, right? Because my close circle of friends, we actually talk about things. So for me to all of a sudden expect you to be able to cough up $150 for a steak dinner that we didn't discuss beforehand, that's on me as a friend. And for Adrian Peterson to plan a 30th birthday party and the people in his circle don't tie his ass up to a chair and say, "The fuck are you doing?" That's a problem. And we've heard horror stories about athletes, right? We've heard horror stories about them. The average career of a professional athlete is what? 3 to 4 years? Which is what? The length of their rookie contract in most cases. So that means most athletes don't even get to their second contract. Because you have one person in a group that made it. But it's oh, we made it. And you talk about, you know, you could go look up interviews about friendships that people have lost because they had to cut off money. What that does to people. And there are some people that can't say no. We all know a friend that's like that. Can't say no to nobody. And some people can take advantage of that person in this situation. Oh, that's cool. And so having a good circle around you that's honest with you, that can hold you accountable, that keep you in check, that goes a long way. And you know, unfortunately for some of these athletes, they have to learn that lesson the hard way with millions of dollars at stake, right? Some of us go through this situation and don't lose nearly as much. But yeah, that's real unfortunate for Adrian Peterson and his life and what that's turned into. Now, to pivot a little bit, right? Because, you know, we always talk about sports IQ or basketball IQ, right? And here's the reality, right? Sports IQ isn't always transferable. What does that mean? We see these guys, the way they're able to assess a situation, and react. Right? The way they're able to read stuff. You know, sometimes we call it 200 IQ plays. Right? To look so smart in their craft. That sometimes us, as the viewer, says, if you're so smart in that, you should be able to go do this, or you should be able to go do that. Because people like LeBron James or Chris Paul or Carmelo Anthony, because these guys are quote unquote smart in the game, and they're also able to translate it off of the basketball court. But that doesn't mean that everyone is able to do that. Right? Just because you can read a situation well in breaking down film and go through a scouting report and forecast what someone's about to do, just because you could do that well doesn't mean that you can now go and do investments really well. And I think that's what we see. Right? Because the intelligence and the IQ that they've gained in their respective sport took a lot of time. So even if their ability to analyze something is extremely high, they're also braced with the information because of their years in that sport. You know, Kobe talks all the time about studying business, right? About taking classes, Shaq taking classes. There's an application that has to be involved, right? And I think in the space that we're in, because there's a persona that these guys have to project, it's not cool to go back to school. It's not cool to go get a business degree. It's not cool to do the X, Y, and Z just so you can get braced with the proper information to go intern under somebody. You know, a lot of these things would go a long way for these athletes. But like I said, they gotta have the flashy cars, all the jewelry on. They gotta have all the women. They gotta pop the bottles at the club. The difference between them and the rappers is they actually have the money. Their money isn't in advance from the labels. That's actually their money. But still, can go through it really quickly. And so, you know, I really hope that in the coming years, because they always say, right, that we're in the information era. It's so easy to Google everything. Yes, it's so easy to Google everything, but the reality is everyone doesn't do that. Right? Pick out any 10 people on the street. How many of them are actually going to Google something when you're talking about a particular topic and there's something in it that they don't know or understand? How many of them are even going to ask a question? How many of them are going to open Google? Right? So just because we're in that era doesn't mean that everyone has that in them. So that's always something to pay attention to, man. And like I said, all of these unfortunate circumstances in sports, you know, we're giving a lot of power and a lot of money to 18-year-olds that have never had a dollar in their life. And now you're asking them to be on their own and manage it. And now they have popularity and fame. It's just a really dangerous combination. But to move on to, because I think this is what we're gonna be spending the rest of the time on, is the New York Knicks and their mismatched positions. Now, the other day there was a Q&A held by Steve Ashburner, which is on NBA.com right now. So we'll go look through it together. So I want to start with this right here, right? Where is it? Here you go. Oh, no, here it is. How do you begin to replace Hartenstein, the 7-footer who was so valuable stepping in for injured Mitchell Robinson, signed as a free agent with the Thunder in July? Tom Thibodeau says, we went through that last year. We started the season where Mitchell was the starter, and he was off to a monster start. When he went out, Jericho Sims started initially, then he got hurt. Go Knicks! Yes, sir! Then Isaiah came in and did what he did. But when he got hurt, Precious Achiuwa came in along with Taj Gibson, so we rotated guys at that position the entire year. We'll probably have to do it by committee. We'll look at some different things because we have versatility. We could see Julius more at the 5. I don't want to do that for long stretches. It would take its toll. But to have him do it for 10 or 15 minutes, I think he can do it well. He also would create a lot of offensive advantages. You see, I don't love hearing that because we dealt with Josh Hart playing the 4 for pretty much the whole, ever since Julius Randle was out. And it's one of those situations where just because they can do it well doesn't mean they have to do it. Right? Tom Thibodeau says that he doesn't want to have Julius Randle at the 5 position for long stretches because it would take its toll. But to have him do it for 10 to 15 minutes, guys are only playing like 30, 32 minutes. That's half of the time he's out there. Like, what is he talking about? So, essentially, half of the time when half of the time when Randle's out there, he's gonna be playing the 5. Which now I'm like, all right, so does that mean that Josh Hart now slides to the 4? So they can, it'll be effective, but for how long? I already felt like we were small last year, and now with the size that we've added, right, with Mikal Bridges, now we take that size away because instead of having a Mitchell Robinson and a Julius Randle, or to go find somebody else, right? We just need a big that could go rebound. Now we're gonna just start moving everybody up. It's just a cause for concern. We saw Josh Hart be in some really bad matchups at the 4 position. Like I said, not because he can't do it, and I'm not saying that Julius Randle can't be effective or do well at the 5 position. That's not what I'm saying at all. But end of game situations, this is not what it sounds like, though. I'm not gonna lie to you. It sounds like kind of what he's expecting out of Julius Randle for the year. And I'll be honest. Maybe I'm just hard on them because it's my team. But we have a great group of guys, right? I think we need to be able to have a legit first and second unit and not just try to throw everybody out in the starting lineup. I think Josh Hart coming in early in the game goes really well. And even Dante, but I was really picturing a lineup, some like Brunson. Yeah, I mean, and then the other part is, I mean, this guy's already dealt with injuries, so now we're gonna have him be at a size disadvantage in a lot of situations at the 5 position. I don't know. Like I said, maybe it's just the pessimistic person in me. But I don't love hearing that plan. That's the plan, right? He didn't say, we're gonna try to find somebody. He said by committee. Motherfucker, you can't do a position by committee. It just don't work. We gotta find somebody. But amen. Like I said, I think a part of it is just my pessimism towards my team. He is, but he gotta deal with that extra size and weight, right? Because all they're gonna do is let him shoot a shot on defense, and then on offense they're gonna just post him up. And like I said, he's strong as hell. Don't get me wrong. Like, he's strong and he's good. Julius Randle is he's really good, and Thibodeau gave him a lot of props on this team, right? So that's a huge part of it. But OG and Precious can guard the centers on defense. And then running, stop, starting, then trying to bang out. That's just been my experience playing. Bro, OG and Precious can guard centers on D. What are we doing right now? Who are they guarding on in terms of the centers? And I'm talking about we're not talking about the whack teams. Like we were second in the East last year. We got to talk about the best teams when we doing this. They're not guarding Joel Embiid, Giannis, Jokic, AD. I mean, come on. Not for long stretches. That's not happening. So they definitely got to figure out the big situation, because I definitely see it, because we have a lot of wings and guards right now. The bigs is kind of where we're kind of lacking. So I'm curious to see how that turns out. That's what I'm saying, bro. Like we gonna have Randall lining up against those guys too. Like, it's just not gonna go. It's just not good. I don't think it's good. I'm just being honest. Yeah, and at the end of the day, he's 6'8". He's 6'8". I turned on 2K the other day, right? I turned on 2K because I got the new one, so I'm going through the rosters, dog. Every power forward in the league is damn near 6'6". Centers are 6'9". What the, like? Where'd all the size go? Bro. I was so confused. Like, what are we doing? But yeah, I think there's and I guess to further this point a little bit, this isn't just the New York Knicks, by the way. The mismatch of positions is happening throughout the NBA, if you guys haven't noticed, right? Shooting guards are playing point guards, small forwards are shooting guards, and it's just all weird. And like, shooting guards are playing, it's just, everything is weird. power forwards are centers, small forwards are power forwards. It's just, I don't know what's going on right now. Everybody's got this whole weird thing. I've been saying it for the last couple weeks. I think the NBA is in a transition period right now, with everything, it seems like. And I think when we come out of it in the next couple years, we're going to see a great brand of basketball. Like, and not to say that we haven't been already, but I do think that there's some growing pains going on with the NBA right now. But they'll hash it out. Hopefully we don't have 6'8" centers for too long. Gary Payton, like dog. Let's not even. I don't even want to talk about Gary Payton too. How do we feel comfortable with Precious at center but not Randle? A lineup of JB, Dante, No, that's the part. I don't feel comfortable with Precious at center. I barely feel comfortable with him at the power forward. But like I said, I don't think it's a Knicks thing. I think it's an NBA thing where they've just... Everything is changing right now with basketball, if you've noticed. They're mismatching positions. The media has fooled everyone into thinking that positionless basketball is a real thing. That's kind of what's actually happened. And some NBA teams are experimenting with it. That's what I think is happening, right? But, you know, I think who the fuck is guarding Kristaps Porzingis for the Boston Celtics? Like, bro, what are we doing? The guys are 6'7" guarding him. Like, come on, dog. Come on. I'm pretty sure Julius Randle on his best day is like 6'9". That's Jason Tatum. We got to stop pretending like size don't matter in the league. Size means a lot. Size means a hell of a lot. Now, to get away from the size stuff when it comes to the Knicks, I did want to discuss this because this was a point of interest for a lot of folks, which is the Batman-Robin dynamic with the New York Knicks and whether it's necessary, right? Some people think that having this dynamic is just simply to break a team down, right? It's just narratives. Some people say, oh, everybody got to have a fair chance at, touching the ball. He's barely bigger than Tatum. He barely. And like I said, obviously him and Tatum one-on-one in the post is a mismatch. But I'm just saying he's close to his size and he is their power forward / small forward. Their center is like 7'3". That's just my point. But listen, bro, you better not be jinxing. Elijah, I swear to God, if we get to the end of the year and you've ended up jinxing us, dog. He is definitely stronger than Tatum, but that's not what I'm talking about still. Like, height definitely matters. Height definitely matters. And I just feel like his natural position is a 4. Like I said, he could do it, but his natural position is a 4. Now, everyone's been talking about Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle, right? Because Jalen Brunson has emerged as the guy for the New York Knicks. And now we have Julius Randle, who was the quote-unquote guy right before him, who now has to take a back seat, right? And there are some people that want to pretend like these things don't matter. And some people want to pretend like it's just narratives, but the reality is, it really is important. And it's not so important. I personally think it's not so important for the two people involved in terms of the Batman and the Rock, whoever gets the title. I've always personally thought that it was valuable because it put everybody in their right place, the rest of the team, because down the stretch, the decision making becomes simpler, right? Because you know who option A is and you know who option B is. So when you're closing out games and going through your sets and running stuff, it's a lot easier to go through check downs rather than trying to assess who should get the ball. When, oh no, this is always our first option, and then this is always our second option. Always go to the first option unless we say otherwise. That simplifies the game for the rest of the guys. Because now, okay, based on who's going to get it, we know where to stand, we know where to go. Everything becomes easier. I think that's the most important thing. Right? And Gilbert Arenas had a great take on this. The person that can make all of this go away for the most part is Jalen Brunson. If he comes out and says, no, Julius Randle's our guy. He's the main guy. Similar to the way Dwayne Wade did when LeBron got to Miami. My only issue with that is, would that be a genuine statement? Because we see how the game goes when the ball is in Jalen Brunson's hand, especially at the end of games. And I wonder if Randle would ultimately be okay with taking the back seat, because genuinely that's what I think needs to happen. He definitely is. He definitely is the numero uno guy. And I'll be honest, right? I do think that the way Jalen Brunson plays, he has the potential to break the mold of the fact that little point guards can't carry teams to NBA championships. I think that Jalen Brunson can break that, right? Because historically, the point guard or a little guard, period, leading the team, they don't win the championship. And I think he's good enough and he has a style of play that can do that. But that means Julius Randle would have to make a massive sacrifice. What I said the other day was it would have to start with his efficiency. Right? He has to be the ultimate bailout so that when shit is kind of going crazy on the strong side of the ball, Steph and Jalen, the only two. Yeah, Steph was the only one for the longest time. Because even with like the Spurs, even when Tony Parker won the finals MVP, I don't know if I would have considered him the best player on that team. Tim Duncan was still there. But yeah, I like I said, I think Brunson is different. There's some about this dude. I saw him when he was on Dallas. I told my dad, I was like, this guy is absolutely different. He is a true NY classic, traditional, pull up your pants, walk him down point guard. You know when they say a grinded out game or a gritty game, he's the example for that. Right? And to me, that's his ability to get to the free throw line at the end of games, to make tough shots in the mid range, to be able to get people he could just do a lot of little things possession to possession that could just make something happen, whether it's chaotic or not. And Brunson's ability to do that is special. Now, I do think a key part of this, and if it's true that Randle is going to be a center, I think it works if Randle can be close to a 40% three-point shooter. If he can, like, Chris Bosh it, where he says, all right, I'm going to shut everything down on defense, and I'm going to hit every three. I genuinely think we're in for some shit. Because if that's the dynamic and Brunson gets to have space and he could do everything he wants, pulls the center out because Julius Randle is hitting threes, opens up cutting lanes for him. You have Mikal that could hit threes and make plays. OG can cut. That's a way that I could see this working. I think you play through Brunson because he was there, so you have flow with him. And what you said, he is a point and he can work the game. That's facts. The ultimate X factor is, like I said, if Julius Randle can, let's say 38%. But Randle is a big, more strong, and makes tough shots, so we really have to wait and see, in my opinion. Hi, Dad. But if Randle could shoot 38% from three, make like a good three of them a game, I think he makes everything work with that style. And then in between all that, he gets his mid range, his ISO game when he can. But if his priority is to play defense, get rebounds, knock down threes, cut in that order, I think he'll make all of this shit work. And unfortunately for him, right, when you're that person, you don't get the credit that you deserve. So if he's able to make that kind of sacrifice and they make this championship run, the reality is he's not going to get that much credit, but we all know what's up. We all know how key he would be in all of that. So that's just something to look out for. I do think that the Batman and Robin dynamic is super necessary in anything. Someone always has to assume that primary position. It's just how shit goes. It's just how shit goes. Like I always say, I don't make the rules, man. I just live in this world. I don't make the rules. I'm just here. Now, something interesting that Tom Thibodeau was talking about was the Villanova Knicks, right? And he had this to say. The Villanova thing was a long time ago. That's what people don't realize. That these guys have all gone on to play at different places. So they've gained different experiences. And now they've come back. But you also have situations like with Mikal, who not only has played with those guys, but he also has played with Cam Payne and Bates Diop. I think we had the same thing when I was in Chicago. We had Carlos Boozer, Kyle Korver, and Ronnie Brewer, who previously had teamed in Utah. What that does is it's probably a little overrated, but the fact that they've played together before probably helps them adjust quickly to a new system. That's where the biggest advantage is. Their comfort in playing off each other, understanding strengths and weaknesses. Not only have you played so many games together, you've also practiced together. How old am I? Why that matter? why my age matter in a basketball conversation? In my opinion, OG is a diet. I think OG will take a ton SOF pressure off the 1-2 thing. In my opinion, OG is a diet superstar. He does everything you want and superstar to do, but a lower level. That's facts. He even got the armband looking like a star. Dog, when he be shooting the shots, I'm like, this guy is top 5. I was like, yo, this guy looked like he top 5. But what should be the expectations for the Nova Knicks? Because to your point, they have OG Anunoby. We were just talking about a Julius Randle. Question marks on who's even starting, right? So my first question is, how many minutes are they even going to have together? I'm sure they'll see the floor together and they'll adjust accordingly as the season goes on. But how much time will they even spend on the floor, right? To be able to develop sort of this chemistry that they've talked about. You know, when you're in college, it's a lot easier to have a lineup with Brunson, Dante, and Josh Hart for long stretches on a title run because, you know, college's guys are a little bit smaller. It's not the same as the NBA when you have some shooting guards and small forwards are 6'9". It's just a different thing. If healthy, finals. And it's funny because even in that quote from Tom Thibodeau, he tried to not put pressure on the Nova Knicks by saying that they haven't played together in a while, and then goes on to say how important playing together could potentially be. So he kind of went against what he was just talking about right there. The reality is this, right? They have a camaraderie. They have a relationship off of the court, right? They're actual friends. And I've talked about this before. When it comes to sacrifice, right? Sacrificing for your actual friends is easier than somebody else. Because think about it. If you're in a work environment and somebody said, hey, you got to stay longer because something happened, right? Okay, let's say you got to stay longer because somebody called out or somebody's not coming in or somebody can't stay. I'm sure 9 times out of 10, your first question would be who? And if it's somebody that you like, a lot more likely for you to say yes than somebody that you don't really rock with or somebody that you don't consider a friend. I believe in them. They play great basketball. I think some of the best in the league. It's there for anyone, especially them. That's that. I mean, we've talked about this a lot. The fact that there's only one basketball out there, right? And names on a piece of paper don't always mean everything. They have to figure out how to play. So we have guys that have figured out how to play together all of those years ago. They have that connection. And to Tom Thibodeau's point, they've separated and got different experiences. But you know what's happened with those experiences? They've all gotten better. So coming together as better versions of themselves, and then you add a OG Anunoby, and now you have a Julius Randle, and you have the recipe to a great meal. Now, we got to go through the season. We got to execute. We got to figure out some of these lineups. We got to make sure guys are healthy. That's also kind of why I'm so hard on these lineups. Like, we got to try to find a way to preserve these guys and make sure that they don't get injured. Having them play against bigger competition does not help them. So I'm curious as to how everything turns out for these guys, because like I said, there's going to be a lot of pressure on them, right? Everyone is going to expect them to do well, and it's up to them on how they manage those expectations, right? The thing about some of these teams is we could all be talking about this, and this could not be bothering them at all one bit, right? It's just something that we talk about from the outside looking in, but it ultimately might not impact them. Because I say all the time, we could talk about emotions, we could talk about all of these different aspects of the game. When it comes to it, are you going to execute or not? And they've shown that they could do that at the highest level. So can they do that in the NBA together? That's what remains to be seen. That's what we're looking forward to. But for now, that's going to do it for me. I know it's been a quick one today. Before I go, please like, comment, subscribe, all that good shit, because it really helps the channel out. I really, really appreciate it. We are trying to take this to Saturn. I appreciate y'all, man. Y'all could have been anywhere on the internet, but y'all were here with me. I appreciate that. Thank you, Elijah. Thank you, Just Knicks. Thank you, Mom and Dad. I appreciate y'all. I will see you guys tomorrow, man. Y'all have a great rest of your evening. Peace, 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 peace. Thank you, guys. Later, later, later.